Coming up on the show in my conversation with Kagiso Lediga, we touch on parenting, we touch on socials, we touch on Sabbatical, the movie, and some other things that are interesting like Beyonce.
And BP.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Relebogile Mabotja Podcast. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let me know who you'd like to see. Follow us on the socials at Relebogile Pod so that you can find out more of what is what and where is how. I'm so excited for today's guest because international muto, global, there, Kagiso Lediga. I knew you were gonna.
I went on that show with my sister the other day, and I was very happy to be at the ground zero of the whole time. Let's mama go
Did you ask for a shout out?
I did. Yeah, he actually did shout out my mom out of like just from conversation. Mama Komozo Dorobanyago, Labutama American Anyway.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you finally agree to sit with me? And I say finally because I think on radio we've been trying to get you, but I know you're a busy man.
I mean, you see, because look at this, Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
People who care for soccer are out there doing that. So what am I going to be doing?
You don't care for soccer at all?
Not at all. My parents, when I was a kid, I was a Kaizer Chiefs kid.
Yes.
Like Sosha Nguve, Kaizer Chiefs.
I thought we got Sosha Nguve, hey, Mamelodi Sundowns.
No, but back then, Sosha Nguve Mamelodi was the other side. You know, yes, it was the auntie, you know, more Sosha, you know, that type of thing. And then that was because my parents were Kaizer Chiefs people.
Yeah.
And Mamelodi, I don't know, Mamelodi Sundowns had a resurgence at some point.
Yes.
You know, but back then.
No, the resurgence was Patrice Motsepe.
Can say Zaga, like, you know, Zaga can make you research. Yeah, so I've never, and then when I moved to Joburg, all my friends were Arsenal fans. So there was that season in Arsenal where they didn't lose a game. It was great with Thierry Henry and all of that. Unbelievable. And then when I moved out of that kind of scene,
you were like, why am I
just lost you know when you lose the what was the last game? And then there's new players now. You're like, forgot about that thing. Forget about it.
The time I was into soccer was Ronaldo, not Cristiano.
Ronaldo Akhali.
Yes.
Ronaldo Mohol.
Yes, in that era.
Yeah, I remember that. I was Henry with your Walcott, those people.
Oh, Henry, call me. Go socials. Socials, when social where are you from?
DL.
Me too.
Yeah, so DL. Yeah, does your mom know? My mom said something about maybe, you know, my mom last time. Is your mom a nurse? No.
She was a nurse.
Yeah, I think my mom, back a few years ago, my mom said something about waiting on our mama. You know those waiting on our mama things? Yeah.
So, we want to go transfer.
Yes.
My dad owned the bottle store.
Transfer is basically the taxi rank. It's called transfer because that's where you go to transfer to other places.
I would not be surprised because everybody knew everybody.
Yeah. I lived in DL like via VV the first time, like sort of in a 4-room house, and then moving on up to via Philippe. And then there was we had a big house on a corner there, AAA, very nice house. I remember my parents had taken a lot of time to get the house designed, architect. I think that's probably got me into architecture.
Yes.
But then a few years later, there was the house was repossessed. There were you know when you come home and then you're stressing that your pornography is going to be found by the repossession people. But I was 12 years old, so yeah, that was
and back then, Nelly Magazine.
Yeah, it was that.
People are thinking pornography.
No, Nelly Magazine. No, so now, I mean, I was 12. Kid Magazine.
That you stole.
And medical books. Like my mom's a nurse, so the only time I can see these things is actual biology, you know. I was, hey man, I'm 12 years old. What do you think is going on? I'm being judged like, mana.
No, it didn't click in my mind where I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense.
Because where you gonna see these things? It's like the book and then, you know. But it's also, anyway.
So
enough about my 12-year-old.
Wait, so Mama Kemang, what's Mama's name?
Khomotso.
I am so going to
find out.
Ask my mom.
But then when you ask, but she mustn't see this part about the Bugazari porno.
The first thing I'm going to say, Mama, ofonele Mama Khomotso.
Una ngwana o wa pivot o man.
What was your favorite thing about growing up with Soshas? I mean, it's heartbreaking what Soshas has become.
It's hardcore, ne?
Yeah, like, because I feel like there was some energy about Soshas.
Nice. You know what it was? It had like a half rural, half townshipness.
Yes.
You know, like, because when you're in Pale, because my other township, because my grandmother, my mom's parents were in Attridgeville. So my holidays were in Attridgeville.
Yes.
I went to like Creche for Attridgeville.
Yes.
You know, I love Attridgeville a lot. I even made a movie about Attridgeville. But then Sosha had was new. It had like a new kind of rural township. Yes. It was very chill, you know. Budi K. I did a lot of walk. I used to walk a lot in Sosha. My first school was a school called Balese, and it was sort of like at the edge of the township, probably before your time. You seem like an 80s kid. I was born in the late 70s. So by the time, you're probably my sister's age, my little sister's age. So I was allowed to go out, you know, go hunting, go whatever, reload somebody, muka, and all of that kind of stuff. And there was, you know, the highway that goes to Soshangu, the original highway. We used to walk all the way through those bushes, cross the highway. But my 8 years old, cross the highway. Imagine the adventure of crossing a highway and then go into those farms. So I remember once we went into those farms because somebody told us there was an orchard, like the Pereki city. It's like the Garden of Eden, you know. So we went in there, and then there was also like a farmer apparently who will shoot you if whatever. So all these kids, I was the youngest, so they gave me all their jerseys to carry, and then I was walking, you know, like kind of like a little bit zoned out. We got to the place. The Levuru came out. We all had to run. You know. Now I've got.
Did
all
he
these
come out with a gun?
I don't know. We could in our imagination, it was the worst case scenario. But he basically came out and screamed, and we were all running. I had these people's jerseys, and I'm the youngest, you know. So when I thought to throw these jerseys away, so you know, throw them on the ground so that I can run freer. They promised to beat me. You know when they're like, now you got So anyway, yo, it was heavy. Anyway, those kind of great adventures back then.
Oh man, I think what's said is, and obviously we understand the apartheidness of it all, but we as Bondaki, we found some kind of joy in these little systems that were created. You know, I just thought about something as you're talking. There's this woman, I can't recall her name, but she was saying, you know, the way black people, we do poverty so well.
Practice.
No, yes, but not just doing poverty so well. She said, the way we do it so well, we can have nothing and look good, smell good.
That's true.
And then on top of that, Rajaiva Renali style. And she says the problem is now, which is not funny at all. The problem is white people think we like it.
No, that was a review of Sarafina when Sarafina came out. And the New York Times said, we don't understand because these people, this is a struggle thing, but they're all so happy. Yeah, so that was because also it wasn't all Sapasapeli, it was a lot of freedom is coming.
Yes. So do you think, because I just crossed my mind now, do you think that if we did not make the most, if we showed our suffering more, if we showed our poverty more, that the system might be broken sooner? Because they're and it was an African-American woman that was sharing this. She says, because you make it look so good, they think you enjoy it.
Somebody
and I thought,
said, I think Helen Ziller said to people, it wasn't so bad. You know, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. I don't know. You know, I do think that there's an endurance thing that we have. We have we're hopeful people. Yes. We have a vibe yo, man, this, because there's also on the journey to the freedom or to whatever the thing is, we don't necessarily have the capacity to just be sad, because we have we've got so much joy and happiness and beauty and story, you know. So I feel like that if we were showing it, we might have not made it because we would have gotten weaker, you know. Like, but then that gave us strength, because then what's it worth? What's freedom worth if there's no smiles?
There's this a person who told me that where she was working many years ago, a white lady said to her, "You're so lucky that you don't need to earn more money because you don't need a car, you don't need, you know."
That's the problem with apartheid. That's the thing, because they thought, I actually used to have a joke like that. They thought we like to live like Kak. They thought, look at them, hey? They thought that's like how we...
And the fact that, because I really had to, first you laugh about it, then you're like, I can see why some people will have that thing of we were sheltered from what was going on. Because if you are suffering, we're not mavis, but you still show up okapile and you're going to how? What's the problem?
The hip was survivor,
and then Ibile, you're singing while you upepile my child.
You know who I was part of an interview. I was like a sidekick to a German. There's a black woman, Ghanaian German.
Yes.
She was the first black person to be on German TV.
Oh.
And she had like a lot of issues, race things and all of that type of stuff. Mo Asumang is her name. And her grandmother, her mother's mother, was a Nazi. And her father's, father was Ghanaian.
Wow.
So she, like, if you look up, like, there's a lot of documentary. Her work is like going to the Ku Klux Klan and talking to, those kind of vibe. But then she came to South Africa before World Cup, and I was like a sort of a guide, for this documentary. And one of the people we interviewed was De Klerk.
Oh.
Kankwebo Dileng, so it seems like it why.
Nobel Peace Prize
winner. Anyway, this dude said, like, because I was asking about, he said apartheid. So his whole thing, so they were trying to get, the whole thing that Mo was trying to get was for him to admit that apartheid was a crime against humanity.
Yes.
But he won't do that because then we'll try to face the United Nations Security Council, whatever, that stuff that I didn't understand at the time. But then he said apartheid wasn't bad. It was just badly executed. That's what he said. But and also the way he said it's so beautiful. He says it the way, because it's not apartheid. The way he said it like original apartheid. And then Abari said it wasn't well executed. They could have done it better. But then when I asked, but why was it then, like, in education, why did you think that it was okay to have like the vast population have that kind of education, that kind of housing, that kind of thing? Then he said, what's your name? Kagiso. Listen here, Kagiso. Did your parents go to school? I was like, yeah, my parents went to school. Then it was a missionary school. Was it a proper school? So like, no, man. Like, I named the school. Then he said, no, the problem is before we came here, there were no schools. So the schools that they had to make were those ones. They had so much, whatever money they could give to the blacks, that's the schools we had. And that's the housing we had. And he said, look at the ANC now. They're making the same schools and the same houses because that's the money. That's the resources you have to make. And it got me thinking, I was very upset, but it also got me thinking, I was like, damn, that's also what is the design? Like whoever is at the ANC currently or in our government, when they think like to this point of do they imagine us in beauty? What is their like ultimate level of beauty for us? Like of comfort, of, you know what I mean? Because if you grew up Gola Roleng, when you get into power, are you going to put me Gola Roleng or are you going to put me go like beautiful things? Like, you know what I mean? I always wonder that.
Such a powerful question. What is our governing party's idea of beauty for people?
Of like extreme like comfort and this, like, like if you grew up in some small town in Germany where the bus is on time and the water thing and the thing is always, this thing is 100-year-old pipe and the guy who does is your great-grandfather, you are in the family of making that, sure that thing works, like then you have this idea that things have to work a certain way. If you grew up like me, when I become the mayor of Soshanguve, am I saying I'm going to make it like that town in Germany? Or am I like, man?
You are making me think about so many things, particularly about how our, in my view, brand of comedy is so different and unique because of what we've been through. And I was saying this earlier to a comedian, which is that...
Which was a comedian? Who was it? You had a comedian here before me? Comedians can... Okay.
I said to him that comedy is healing, and I don't think comedians get the recognition accordingly that you are such a big part of our healing, in that, yes, there is this collective trauma that, you know, I was saying to Mom Clementine that I was chatting to, do you think your guys' generation needs group therapy? Because she was not even protected, even though in our industry, yes, when cameras are on, an actor is an actor, black or white. But she made it clear when cameras were off, they would say crew eats first. But back then, the crew was all white.
Of course.
So now I'm like...
She was telling me, her Mom Tina and my old Mom Nupi and all of those people, they were telling these stories, man, and they were like horrendous, where they tell you how much they would earn versus the white actor, what, you know, like just nobody's actually... I was actually interested in making a documentary about that. Like just, if you think about those old shows that we used to watch, Mopeme and all of that, they were made by Bukatinka Haynes, and you know, it was like a sort of like an Afrikaans bunch that made those. Obviously, there were black writers and actors and all of that. But what happened to those people? You know, it's like also very interesting.
I even think not just a documentary about that part, but your, you know, Bomam Koni that were found on, you know, singing somewhere and then taken abroad.
Go to theatre shows, on like Broadway and West End.
What did they earn? How did they deal with all of that? But to come back then to what your question was about our governing party and the FW de Klerk saying that was the money, that's why you have...
Yeah, it's like, what do you... Because obviously this is the guy who knows the bank account, you know? Like so he's like, what are they going to do, you know?
So what would your dream be for South Africa?
My dream is whatever I would love our people to have great self-esteem, to believe in themselves, to like not just black people, but all South Africans, to be like, to hold like a certain ideal about life and the value of themselves. You know, like we're beautiful people, we're talented people, we're great, you know. But and then kind of like have that kind of thing where and then everything that we approach it with that. Like we don't say words like it's world class. You know how we do. Wait, it's world class. This thing. You know, it's like during the World Cup, when people came from overseas, remember, like, crime was low. Everybody, South Africans were very happy to be hosting.
Even the criminals were saying, we're in it together.
Remember, and then there was. I remember when somebody got hit by a car, there was an accident, and South Africans, the first question they would ask was, is it a local or a international?
Oh, yes!
Was it a local? And then when they found out that, no, it was a local, oh, yeah, okay, great. Because, you know, there's an idea of that we're not worthy. We say things like world class. We say we don't think, because of isolation, I guess, we were away from the world for so long that we don't, you know, we're always surprised. We always think people like Tyler, people like, you know, John Carney, Trevor Noah, all whenever it's always like, yo, we almost recognize it. So-and-so was spotted on the World Cup, on the red carpet, 50 meters away from, you know, some other big, great American star. You know, we still have, like, we don't have...
we don't see ourselves in the same category.
That's bad.
So we have to differentiate by saying...
Yeah, we say. We kind of like trying to, like, measure up. And I think whatever it is, we need to kind of have like an internal kind of like, you are good, you know, listen, remember our music, remember our beautiful things, remember our stories, and tell those. And be like this movie, Karabo's movie Sabbatical.
Yes.
I mean, what I love about it is that it's so
Please
like
tell
authentic.
Everybody who Karabo is.
Karabo Lediga is my sister. From Karabo Lediga, also from Sojangube.
Yes.
She used to suck her thumb, but she'll tell you all about that.
Hey, put some respect on her name.
Baratoma chilies. You know when you gotta stop the thing and they put the chilies there, my grandma. Yeah, so me and her worked a lot together since I mean, pure Monate show. She was one of the young people on the show, writing.
Yes.
You know, she studied kind of media studies at UCT. But I always thought I always knew what I wanted to do, but I always saw her talent as well. Like, you know, she's very smart, like a math mind as well.
Please,
as much as she's talented.
Can I just give you your flowers for
Dear
Blompoto for your work on PMS?
Thank you.
PMS raised us.
Yeah, succulent.
No, that show was just, I mean, I know us millennials are very nostalgic. We don't have all our footage, we don't have, and I feel for this new generation because everything's on your phones. You never have a reason to be nostalgic. But there is something that show did for us, like the appointment viewing
that was
and the
crazy.
Preparing, because you guys were pushing boundaries.
Yeah,
how
that
did you
show
even
was-
allow that? How did you get it to be there?
I think it's like one of those things that slipped through the cracks.
No one noticed.
Yeah, I always thought that because there was a disclaimer at the top of the show.
That said what?
Yeah, like, you know, this, anybody, if you got offended, you know, like it was, they're like a disclaimer, but it had like swear words in the disclaimer because we wrote it in a hurry. I think David Kau wrote it, but it had like, we don't give a or words like those. For a disclaimer, you couldn't have that with the BCCSA. So for a whole season that ran with no problem, everybody loving the show. Then season 2, there was a new commissioning editor who noticed this, or there was a complaint. And we, you know, so it was always these things. Late night, when it came on, they said they needed something for late night. They were trying to experiment with late night, you know, 10 o'clock slot, all of that kind of stuff. So that, you know, there was less eyes. I guess also they commissioned Kagiso Masunyane, you know Kagiso Masunyane, Steven Maslamoni, the people there were, Jerry Mpufane was the marketing person, Romeo Kumalo was the boss of the station.
Yes.
So I think they kind of deliberately were like, throw this cock there and then look away. But if nobody complains, then we know that there's a late night situation. And it worked. I mean, to this day, people are still asking me when that show's come back, and it's over 20 years later. You know, I like stories.
None of those episodes could air
Those,
today.
I mean, it was nuts.
Them.
I mean, I had like Ricky Rick telling me about, he was in Hilton.
Yes.
And he says, like, every Friday, the black kids would sneak out of the like out of the dorm to go to the TV room, like at 10 o'clock to watch this show. You know, Loyiso Madinga, like Mount Fletcher, didn't have electricity. I mean, he makes a joke about how electricity just came now. But the generator, like they'd wait for the parents to sleep and then also switching on the generator, like doesn't wake up the parents. But if the parents found them watching the show, they'd be in trouble because it's so dirty, you know. So it was, I guess, that what you're talking about. Internet, we don't have that social media. It was all appointment viewing. What's also crazy is that I used to run into like old Jewish ladies who would say, yo, you know, because they can't leave the house on Friday night and so on, so they have to watch this thing, like, you know.
Oh, and there wasn't PVR, because that was it, unless you had your VHS machine ready to press record.
Yeah, I don't even know if anybody recorded PMS, you know, so it's,
So where are the masters?
I've got them, and SABC must have, because I think they have like some SABC top-up or some encore on DSTV, so they played there. But and I'm always scared to watch it because I feel like I'm going to be so embarrassed that it's dated so badly. But all the bits that I see, it seems to be holding.
Look, you guys did magic.
It was nice, man. Such a great time.
You look like you were having fun.
It was a lot of fun. We didn't make any money, but it was a lot of fun.
It
was a lot of fun.
I was about to say, if you fast forward to where you are in your career now, do you think the fun factor has dropped? And I don't know if this happened.
On it.
I don't know if this happened to you. For me, doing what I do, like, I just remember wanting to be on stage. And even if I was doing it for free, like, I didn't care. The moment money came into the picture,
it complicated the thing.
Yes.
Because then you are like, how much? Whoa, but you paid me this much yesterday. Now today you want me this for a little respect, man.
Right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you think you're having less fun now than you were back then?
You know what I found? I insist on the fun, like it's part of the pack. It's so maybe that there was a point of, I also have never been like a celebrity. I don't need a lot. You know, I do well. I've lived, I mean, I'm fortunate, you know, I've gotten like really nice opportunities.
By fortunate, he means like Fortune magazine type.
I'm fortunate in that I've gotten like, you know, those ones where you don't have to, I did have struggles, but, you know, to the point where now when I have to choose work, the fun has to be a part of it. I mean, there's been parts where I have to go do some corporate for some, you know, where they don't care. I remember doing some gig once for, you know, where you're like, man, I really need this money.
Was this a stand-up comedy?
Stand-up.
Yeah.
I get there, and then this lady's like hardcore. I mean, I'm always wary of calling white South African people racist, because it's like, please come with something else, you know?
Yeah.
But this lady was hardcore, you know? I was like, what the hell? This lady said to me, so I got on stage, did really well, everything is great. And then I messed up like an award, there was some like award thing, you know, that I was supposed to say one thing, then I said another, but it wasn't a train smash.
Yeah.
And then when I spoke to everybody, the stage crew, whatever, they were like, oh no, that's easy. He'll just sort it out. He'll rectify it when he comes back, you know? And we were good. And this lady's just like, what the hell? No, this is not gonna happen. It's the attitude and everything. So I'm like, yo, man, what's going on here? And I was replacing, the gig was, couldn't make it, Loyiso Gola. So I filled in, you know, we had the same manager. So I asked her, like, that's how I do. So don't stress, I'm gonna sort it out. That's how I do. No, this is like, she's very upset with my vibe. Then I said, whoa, man, like, you seem to be upset with my vibe. What did you think when you got me? Like, this is what I do. Then she said, no, we asked for a black guy. Right? Like basically there was like a black, this is you. Like I wanted a black guy, I know black guys, maybe she knew Trevor Noah and Loyiso Gola, and she got this black guy, and she's like, this is not the type of black I want. Like, obviously I'm offended at this point. The driver's there, I'm like, yo, let's leave, we're going. But now I need
mid-show.
No, just because there's a break. So I called the driver. But as I'm leaving, the people, it's for like a SOE.
Yes.
South Africa, but at the time it was very traditional, kind of old school, you know. And then as I leave, the people come in and they're all very excited to see me. You know, but so I'm leaving.
In the crowd.
Yeah. So and then I also call Lloyd because I need him to back me up. Spiritually, I need somebody to go, Banyela, Vaya, you know. So
I love that.
So I'm calling him, and because he was also known for storming out of gigs and all of that, I know that if I'm going, I'm going now. He's gonna say, I want some fun, get out of there. Then he goes, you know, there's contracts and stuff. You know, you could get into trouble because now he's recently gotten into. So that backing that I needed wasn't there.
So you walked back.
Yeah, no, but then luckily there was those people who were like, yo, we are so excited to see you. And there was some guy, some like American hippie guy from San Francisco who was so excited. He said, all of these people have told him about me, and he's I'm so excited to see you. And so that got me, I remember that, hey man, those people, when I'm on stage, they don't know about this chick and her vibes. It's about the people, you know? So that, always remember it. Like with stand-up, and because stand-up is hard in a lot of ways, because when you get up there, anything can happen. You know, you gotta like steel yourself. The nerves of stand-up for me were always something else. You know, like when I'd go on like people like Mashabela. I'm like, this guy doesn't get nerves. This guy's just like a machine. You know, so like. Before that, I'd always remember you love these people. You must love these people. If you're going to make these people laugh, get in there and love them. And then as soon as you stop loving the people, then the thing doesn't become fun anymore. And I feel like at some point I might have stopped even loving like the audience. And I thought, I'm going to take a break from stand-up, because that love, like that, you know.
Was not there the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
But do you also think that you had the luxury in that you are so multi-skilled, and
yes,
you could afford to not just have that be your thing? I
mean, it's not affording as much as pursuing the things. You know, like one of those where you go, oh man, I did stand-up. Stand-up is great. But also there's no shortage of stand-up comedians. And it's like, so the challenge of it also becomes something else, you know? Whereas like writing, like trying to get a movie into like one of the world's biggest film festival, or get, you know, like that, getting those opportunities. Like, I mean, I remember when we got that Queen Sono. Yeah. I mean, I was just like, okay, how are we gonna, for me, it was like my brain, I was like, oh yeah, this is it, you know? In my head, I thought, that we weren't even, it was going to be such a big wave of like resource and money and all of that kind of stuff to make a show, you know, where you have imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And then when we did that thing, I thought, oh, it's like, I like to tell a story when you talk to people, like people watched it in America and all over the world and they were like excited, you know, to meet us and talk to us. But then what we realized is that they'd found out how much we made it for, which was for them like, hey, you know, when you go
10% of the actual.
You know, when you go to when you go to the furniture, Roche Baboa,
yes,
and you see a couch and then some guy says, yo, I know these Bafana Babankama, they can make you this thing for like cheap. So when people called, it was like, yo, we know these guys, we heard you guys can make. So then that also then became like like that was just like a little step, you know. So let's go. Then that's when we decided we don't want to make those types of shows if they're owned. We have to own them. We have to raise the money. We have to, because, you know, then...
Is that why another season didn't happen? Because I mean,
that was also COVID and all of that kind of stuff and other politics. But it was also, you know, like, it cut me up. I wanted to do another season, but then the opportunities that came from it were cooler. And I remember one of my business partners said, yo, man, it did what it had to do. Let it go, you know? I still want to do maybe like a wrap-up movie, because I love working with Pearl. She's crazy, but I think she's like a force of nature, you know? And especially when she does those action-y things, it's like great, yeah.
Because she's all in. She'll get
She's all in, man.
If needs
She's all in. I mean, she gets like attacked a lot in terms of, because I think she is also like a problematic celebrity. She says things, you know? And then you're like, yo, maybe you shouldn't have said, maybe you should have just gone home, you know, with that part. But the talent, I feel like that stuff, then people use that to overshadow the talent, because she works. I'm like, yo, this, like the type of talent, the work, the stunt work, the acting, you know, she gets in there. But then I think the advice I would give to any other person like that coming in is don't let this other noisy shit upstage the thing that you're here to do, you know? Like,
you never let social media become I don't want to say a driving factor that is sort of like dictating your next
I just
direction.
didn't know how to. Who knows? Maybe if I knew how to, I would be in there, you know? I'd be like a TikToker.
TikTok.
Yeah, I'm always slow. I remember when I did like Twitter, when I got onto Twitter, was kind of late night news.
Yes.
And I remember that I didn't know Twitter, and then we had just launched late night news and I needed to know how people are. My sister said, yo, Twitter, no, yo, Twitter king, no. Right, Twitter, and they were just trashing the show, you know, it was just so then I got hooked on that, like, okay, this is like a live kind of
feedback.
Update, live feedback, exactly. And then I got on Twitter, that was exciting.
Did that ever though, just in terms of the feedback you got from people, because you look back at a pure Monate show, you wouldn't necessarily get immediate feedback.
There was no feedback.
Unless you
got to understand
bumped into people, or if there was a BCCSA situation.
I mean, PMS was that. I feel like if it was on social media, there would have been people, because there were shocking things, you know, and even with late night news, it was like, what the hell is this? Because I remember when people see a thing for the first time, it's like, people are always going to say, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah.
And then over time, you know, they actually protect it from it's always great to see, and Twitter was good with that, like where you see, you know, like writing roasts, for instance, where you see that gag landed, this is what you said, you know. So I liked it like that, but it's become also quite toxic. So I've always only liked it as like a link to feedback. I didn't like it as a, hey, look at me and my new shoes, you know, like, because I think there's also that part of social media where I always look at these like things, like Beyonce even. I'm like, yo, lady, how many pictures of yourself do we need to see? Show us a pot. Show us like your meal you're cooking, something, you know? What are you reading? It's always... you know, like everybody does this kind of, so I'm like, that's not my style.
I'm sorry, that is so funny.
But the machine...
Show us she has said openly she can't cook.
Yeah, but I mean, at least show us like a recipe for trying to learn how to cook, you know, whatever, you know,
something. Or something.
Like just it's always that when you look at those social medias, some people have like a story, there's a more dynamism, and then others are like trying to convince themselves that they're prettier than yesterday. That's how I can always see it. Because it's always like, And then the next day, it's like, yeah, but you're still pretty. Like 16 times, you're the same. Like,
I get what you're saying.
You know, it's like, yeah, how much more do we need to see this? Like, come on, man. Like, let's move on. And also, like, the way people use this stuff, they'll ask on the Twitter, like a question, but you're like, yo, you do realize you're on the actual internet. Like, it doesn't, I don't offense here, Twitter. You can ask, like, you can actually get out and Google this thing that you try. You know, like, it's all, yeah. So anyway, I think there's weird kind of socializing into social media. That's
I almost feel like social media de-socialized us because people now struggle to engage in person.
Yeah, because we are also like this.
And not just that part. I get it online, your user number 47, blah, blah, blah. And then you can pick to have some random person's picture and then say things with your chest.
Yeah,
but in person, it is not the same.
Say things with your chest. That's what people do. Gola used to do on late night news on those beginnings because people would criticize him for whatever. And then we would find that he's fighting with like a 12-year-old in Limpopo. You know? He said one line. Like, yo, like when you follow, you're like, yeah, man, this is like some guy, primary school. Relax, man. You know? So that's interesting. And then now it's gotten more crazy.
Sorry, guys. This is...
But you know what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry. He's not dissing Batswana, but Limpopo.
Sorry, Mabotja. And Mabotja, are they all like speakers? Because Mabotja is such a name that kind of puts you in a job. Like Mabotja, basically your job is Mabotja, you know?
Can I tell you something funny?
Yeah.
When primary school, I was going to a private school in 1990. So, Kaboma, you know,
you were early kids, huh?
Yes, we were new.
That's what I was actually wondering about your age as well. And also, like, you used to live with transfer. The transfer was also like the newer houses, right?
Yes,
Yeah, there was like, it used to be transfer when I was a kid with taxis, and then the rich people gentrified. Mabotja gentrified transfer. So whoever is missing old transfer, Mabotja, but you got double garage,
and we didn't have. Never. Oh, go big house.
I want a big house.
So we go now. So they give us this homework, the homeworks for the day. Ne?
What school was this?
St. Mary's Diocesan School for Girls.
Okay.
So we go...
Fancy. I remember those girls in the Kumbi going to St. Mary's.
Yes.
They wouldn't look at a guy like me.
The boys who were going to whips and...
Whips,
because the few black parents banded together that could afford to take their kids and did transport. So they said you need to go home and like find out the history of your surname.
Mabotja.
Yeah.
Ancestry.
So I go, not even the ancestry, but more of where does the name come from and what is the meaning, right? So, beautiful. I mean, back then, the references would always be these European Prince Mang.
My grandfather was an ironsmith.
Yes,
that's why we're Smith.
Yes, exactly. So I said, Papa, you know, this is the homeworks, you know, Mabotja King. He's like, hi, one day your grandfather was sitting somewhere and he was talking a lot. And then, hey,
really?
And then, I swear. So that's the story.
But your dad made it up, obviously. That's not the origin.
Did.
Come on.
The same way that when they said, bring your family heirlooms, my mom took some random umbrella. It was like, it was your great-great-grandmother.
That's so crazy. Because black parents were just surviving. Black parents were just surviving the day. That's crazy. Your grandfather was
Yes, so that's what it became. But as time has...
That is crazy.
Isn't that hilarious? I mean, I still haven't done that ancestry documenting and researching about how Mabotja and Bo Mabotja and Bo Mabuza actually are kind of linked to one another, and that's
there's
like
a lineage of Felicia Mabuza Satlo to Relebogile Mabotja.
But even though that story was made up, it is so funny how they used to always be like, I'm a chatterbox, too much. Now I'm in talk radio, and I only got to know of my uncle, Lady Joe Mabotja, who was Gotobela FM.
Lady Joe?
Yes, Lady Joe.
Where is he? Is he still alive?
No, he's passed on now.
Oh, Lady Joe.
Yes.
Tell us where Lady Joe Mabotja. Oh, that's rock and roll.
No, like, it makes sense.
Oh, that's so crazy.
It makes sense about the talking. If you're around my family, you hear by the laugh that we are all
Yeah. There's some comedians in there, I'm sure. Because the dad story, that's like a proper, like, news.
My dad taught me, he taught me how to do his signature so that I never have to go to him for barraking, all the school forms. A letter from your parents.
DSG. That's how Mabotja got through, y'all.
In fairness to my father, that poor guy, you can imagine my mom being the Soweto girl, being this Motswana mama.
Mario, mom was from Soweto, living in Soshanguve.
Yeah, moved to Soshanguve with this.
That's like going from New York to, like, I don't know, like some
Wisconsin.
small town, those places. Shame, man.
So,
no brave, man.
It was love.
Yeah.
And then when they were there, my mom was insistent, no, these kids must go to private school. So when you're saying Hebar Mabotja, does it mean I kelepetswa or letswape?
Letswape.
Tswana pedi.
Oh, lepetswana.
O when o le eng?
Le nna ke a Tswana. And then my mom Gilketi Motswana. And then I grew up pretty much grandpa places, Yeah. But I see somebody who makes these Wikipedia things. Because in the Wikipedia I'm called South African Tswana comedian. So when I go to places, bra, they speak deep Tswana, mola kya sokola, hakisi ma, nana kirinyalo, ripikile.
No, Lesedi is harder.
That one, those ones. Even Botswana, like I actually went to Botswana now to go teach, like, film in a film academy, And it's like,
is this the Steve Harvey?
That's
one.
The chaos.
Yeah.
But the thing is nice. It's just this Steve Harvey part is the chaos.
What do you mean?
I think they promised Steve Harvey lots of money. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe they don't call me back again. But Steve Harvey, I think when they clean him out, I think they offered him $50 million or something like this.
Where did they even get $50 million?
Yo, don't disrespect Batswana, the Naliona $50 million. Please, Mabotja, apologize.
No, listen, I've got family go Gaborone. And we know that Botswana is not a poor country. But I spare $50 million.
I think the president, Masisi, the previous guy, met with Steve Harvey. And Masisi had aspirations of being an actor. Apparently he was an actor back in the day. So they hit it off. They even gave Steve Harvey a Tswana name, Thusi. Because he's coming to give them help with, obviously give 50 million, obviously. Muthusi Kanyoku. Then I think the public heard about these things, I could be wrong with the amounts, but $50 million was said a lot, which is like R1 billion for Steve Harvey to come and develop your TV industry. Imagine that. You can get Spielberg for $50 million. So Masisi's, I actually saw a clip. That's when I saw the aspiration. It's how can I go with just generations. I saw he made a very funny campaign video. 16, kind of more dira. So he was doing like a whole camp before he lost the elections.
So fast forward, you're giving a lecture to Botswana.
Yeah, but then I was, obviously in my Wikipedia, I'm this Botswana guy. So there was a lot of Tswana expectations, So I just want to say to people, yes, Botswana mo Petswana, but Pitori. I'm from Pretoria and we speak that Pretoria way. You can't really, Pretoria is like a hybrid language, But when we made Matwetwe, you take it for granted the language at Pretoria. But the first audience I saw that movie with was in Texas, at a film festival. And it was interesting, the things it's a comedy, so they laugh at the things, yes. But it was weird, the language, how the language played, And then there's a part, obviously there's the Pretoria language all the way. And then they get to private school kids. They go to town and they speak to some private school girl. So afterwards in the Q&A, somebody said, it was like a Chilean or Peruvian guy. He said it's very interesting. He said, it was the hood, like Atteridgeville, reminded him of his hood in Peru and Chile. And like his uncle was some guy who loved the hood so much that he built his big house in the hood. You know, it was very similar to one of the characters in there. And then he said, but it's very interesting that when you get to the rich areas, all the people start sounding British. And I was like, oh, like our accent, like the way we, you know, your DSG like speak for in his ears is like British speak.
No, because it is very British. I mean,
I say, I'm Relebogile Mabotja. Really boogie, yes.
I'm gonna make that
really boogie, yeah.
I was gonna say, Matwetwe's, you know, gave birth to the documentary about crime.
57, Yes. Oh yeah, you did you emceed the movie's premiere one day.
I wish more people could see it. I think what it birthed in terms of all of the research you guys got into about specifically why are we specifically that violent and why are men that violent. And just to give context is that the research showed that yes, the focus is GBV, but men also die at the hands of other men. Outside of taverns.
Muran.
Yes, and I wish you could push that docu.
We tried, but it's like the type of booty Netflix
Is it because it was too raw?
I think it's not. It's that SABC was the perfect place, but then I think SABC is a little bit dear Makari, you know? It's kind of like hit the rock bottom of it. I hope it gets up to, because my favorite, the most creative place for me as an artist, the most daring place I've ever experienced was SABC. Like pure Monate shows, Bantu Hour, you know, all of the, I mean, those shows we used to see, Yizo, that was SABC. And once you went into like corporate, Mnet and Netflixes and all of that, the story kind of became less authentically South African. I mean, I think they're trying to get back there, but it's going to be they're going through the bushes to find that route again, you know? I mean, I loved Shaka Ilembe. It's like the one show that I totally binged in recent times. And I think we need to go back to those, the SABC days, you know? But what was I saying? That was the only place that would show that kind of place. That kind of show.
I got you. And I don't think people think of it that way because with how streaming has blown up and its accessibility, that seems like these are the ones that are ahead. But either way, our country needs a functioning national
We need that
broadcaster.
thing, bruh. We need a functioning national broadcaster that'll help us with the self-esteem. You know, waking up and when you watch that thing, when you're like a kid, Kokasi, you don't have Netflix if you're like from a poor family. But SABC is always there, you know. You want to be like, that's the coolest stuff you've ever seen. When we were growing up, we would see, it was even Apartheid. Rabu was in Setswana. So I thought like Spider-Man is done by some guys in Soshanguve somewhere, you know, because Rabu.
And it was Rabu.
Like the Incredible Hulk, Sinatla Sago Makacha. You know, like I'm like watching Sinatla Sago Makacha. In my head, I thought, I'm going to do that because obviously these people are, you know, so like there's something like is missing. Obviously there's no money or whatever. Whatever happened at SABC, I mean, have you been there? Currently, about my first year. Hey, man.
You forget that I worked there for a period.
Yeah, you see, like, but if now, like I was like there the other day, I'm like, damn, man. Hey, look, Mufasa.
I'm not having comedians again.
You know, you know, because when you take pictures, I'm there. They want to take a picture. I'm like, yeah, but the background looks like I'm, hey, man, no, man, man.
Okay,
anyway.
I get what you're saying.
But it was a great place of creativity.
Are you raising your son with that same attitude? I mean, you speak so much about self-esteem, which I think is being a parent.
It's important,
Yes, because if it's instilled from a young age, a lot of people are successful just because of their confidence because they believe they can do it, not because they're any better than you. Yeah,
you know, that's the thing, affirmation as well. Like a lot of the most successful people, there's somebody there that says, you know, from early age. Like, because I remember I was saying this to another friend, like when I was a kid, or sometimes you become delusional, obviously. Because when I was growing up, they made me believe that I was handsome, I was a good-looking guy. Then when I hit the real world, it was like, you know those ones where when they call all the good-looking guys, I would go and they're like, hey, Emanyana, boss. Okay, you know those. So like there is also that you could delude your child or delude your person, but the affirmation, people need affirmation. People need to be told they're good at a thing, and it just makes the journey easier because you're gonna have all of these. There's always gonna be resistance, you know.
Should kids be rewarded for participation or for excellence?
I would say excellence is only. It's a difficult question, you know. I think encouraged. I feel like we take reward too far now, you know. Then people.
No, because now we're in the era of everybody gets a medal.
Yeah, no.
Everybody gets.
I think encouragement, great. But the winner is the winner. If you work harder, you know, not you also get a prize.
Wait.
Yeah, you must work on your consonants, my boy. You know.
But I have to tell you, there are some baby boomer parents who up a lot of their kids, comparing them. Why was that so?
No. I mean, it's just if the person is one. I mean, I know that they are. Even when I was growing up, my most street cousins or people on the streets, you know, with me, be like, whatever, soft, man, you know those uncles. How clever, you know, because I don't want to you know, clever, how clever. So like there was also that, there was also that, like the idea of maybe that's where the toxic masculinity came from, you know, that how clever, man, I can party delight, you know that thing. You know, like, so that's so that also that there is that, and but I do, to your question, rewarding participation. Is that what you were saying? Rewarding participation. I think encourage participation, reward excellence.
Yes.
Because that's how the world works, you know. Just I feel like there are so many young people that are just deluded, like me, who come into the world standing there next to Maps Mapunyane, expecting the same treatment. They're like, oh, you know, because somewhere at home they told you, like, you also, Mr. South Africa,
No,
that's the thing. But because I look at my cousins now, I'm like, no, it makes sense here. But you can't go.
But outside.
You can't go now, go strutting now, women. No, chief, no.
You're sorry. I'm so dead. I love that you were saying dese. You know, there's a wine called dese.
Really? A Pretoria wine?
Yes, so I have a food feature, and these guys came to the show and they were telling me that they make their own wine called dese, and I don't let anyone touch it because I just love that.
Because it's guy in one too. Why is that? So
It's just called dese because they're guys from, I think it's Mamelodi.
That's nice.
And they were like, we wanted something with our own lingo. And because of their eatery, they were
Desa is a nice. I mean, Desa is a great clothing. I'll wear something called Desa. I don't know if I'll drink a wine called Desa.
Because it sounds like.
It just sounds like it's a movie. Anyway,
I can't.
But I support Desa. Sorry, my man.
What was it like working on, you know, Mufasa learning to sing, doing all of that?
Rock and roll. That was great. What I...
I nearly need to be on my Mufage era. I need to.
No, you know what happened there was, how did it go? As a friend who actually had been, it's an international gig. So like I'm repped by CAA because when Netflix announced Queen Sono, it was the first African what.
Yes.
So then obviously all these American agents call, you know, hey. I remember my current agent, well, he doesn't work there now, but he works at something else. He was I remember he said to me, Karamoto, what a fura. You know, he's like, Kagiso, oh man, I've been following your work, the Pure Monet show. I was like, nah, bruh, nah. If you know the thing, you wouldn't call it that. Anyway, it's great, guys, still friends to this day. But then, so, there's visibility, you know, and there's obviously Woody Wakanda happened, and there's the idea of like an authentic story. And then I guess Barry Jenkins, who's like one of the greatest filmmakers in the world, looking for that authenticity, kind of wanted they wanted a Rafiki that was like reflect, you know, because that John Carney had set a Rafiki, you know, so you can't just now go with some British guy or American. You need that authentic sounding thing, you know. So, and I was a fan of The Lion King since I was a kid. I remember going to watch it because Stelland in 1990.
Stelland,
man, beautiful stuff. So anyway, I did the thing and auditioned the thing, do voice, you know. With Zetu Mashika.
Yes.
And then
who's a composer.
Who's a composer. Yes. But we were working on, I think, Queen Sono or something after. So he was the place that I go to for music. So he had the studio. So he made it fancy. The river. The scene says there's a river. He'd add a river
for
there.
the script.
Yeah. But then when they heard it, no, they didn't say that.
They wanted it raw.
No, they didn't say. They actually said that was, I don't know if that worked or not. But that was the extra that he put in, you know. And then there was over and over, they were like, we're still looking, we're still that. But then there was like the last two. And one of the other guy was a good friend of mine. And I was helping him before I knew that before my agent said, hey, go for this thing, they also want you. I was helping my friend, you know. And then it turned out to the end of it, like we were the last two of this thing, you know. And I kind of never thought, I remember my sister said, man, but this is your shit. This is what you do. Come on, man. And then I pushed on. And then I remember flying to America for vaccine. Because we were in lockdown.
Yes.
And then they said vaccine is coming.
Yes.
So, no, they didn't say vaccine is coming yet. We were like, I was like, man, we're stuck in the house. Yes. It will be good to get out. Let's go to America. Let's go. So we flew. You had to be quarantined in another country. So we were quarantined in Lamu. It was beautiful. In like East Africa. So it was like first trip out of COVID, you know. But I remember as we were leaving, Tsepo Mogale called me, Aria, vaccine. I'm in the line now. You know? Now you're paying to go get a vaccine in America. Vaccine is here now. Anyway, we went. I know the people who are like, no, it's like vaccine, about poison, line. I still got, you know, it was good. It was. I'm not going to promote vaccines here.
Yes.
Well, so that vaccine. No, interview. I'll go learn the vaccine. I never said anything. So I went to Lamu. Connection is bad, everything. Then the agent called to say I got the part. But it was like, you know, when I'm just here, then I started giving me because I'm pranker, you know, because the life seemed like a prank because I'm leaving the vaccine, I'm doing it, and all of that. Then eventually I got to New York and it was a whole thing, and my, call, yes, this is happening. 2021 that was. And then it was work until I think the last recording session was probably 3 months before release. So from 2021 to
2024.
Those vibes.
Yes.
And then there's also that part where in the contract there's bumps, you know, like if you sing a solo, you make this much. If you sing, then I was like,
so your total was 50 million.
Then I was like, more like it's a wobela.
Yes.
So that part is not for me. You know, I always thought, damn it, if I knew how to sing. Because I had a complex, about singing. When I was in high school, we did the Christmas Carol, Dickens' Christmas Carol, and it was a musical, and everybody sang, and I wasn't allowed to sing because I was such a terrible singer. See that thing, affirmation and self-esteem. So now in my head, I can't sing, right? Because they said, Babu Kleba, everybody's singing, no you though. I was in the play, but I had to rap. Everybody, when we talk in the scene, you are singing your lines to me, and I'm like, yeah, sure. I was like the ghost I was Jacob, whatever my character, I wasn't allowed to sing. Because I assumed I was so bad. And then I was at my friend's wedding, years, like, you know, centurion, and Raopela Mustrat, and then my lady, like, it's in front of me. I check, please, Monica, please stop. Like, you know, like with that face, like, you know, like, yeah, you know that look, we're like, you know, like, you know, when somebody's here, you know, I was like, she had that vibe. So and then any other time I try to sing, you know, there was always, so I had terrible confidence in my singing, you know. So then they said, yo, Rafiki's got a song. Now, you know, then I thought, okay, this is where they get another Rafiki, because they're going to say, then I had to, then somebody said, no, Skawar, phone RJ Benjamin. And then I phoned RJ Benjamin. I was in Spain. I seem like I travel a lot and stuff, but I guess that's post-COVID thing. I was on holiday in Spain. Good times at my house. PMS royalties. I'm not joking.
20 years later.
You know, SABC. That's why SABC is called Makiwa. They gave me all the checks. So then I was in a hotel, and one of those where the next room, you know, and then RJ said, okay, cool, but we need to see that you're not tone deaf. So I had to now be on the computer. He made me download some app that has like a timer, tiki, what, and then I had to sing and time and like to do tone, you know. But now I'm in the hotel. You know when people are knocking like, hey man, it sounds like a cat is dying. But yeah, he established that I wasn't tone deaf.
Yes.
So that gave me that, you know, when they say you are not broken. Oh, sweet. I can also, then I started working on the song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was dope. I recorded at Abbey Road Studios, you know, Beatles, London.
Oh, wow.
Those vibes. It was like 2 days before Christmas. Empty. I was touring. That way Kanye West did Freshman. I remember the orchestra one that he did.
Yes.
In there, like they don't paint the place. You can't, because they don't want to mess the acoustics up, so they don't do fresh paint.
Do you see what Instagram is for? Was that?
That, yeah. That. Follow one, to Mideka Abbey Road.
What was meeting Beyonce like for the first time?
She was cool. I mean, it wasn't like, yeah, Beyonce did it now. When I'm on Instagram, I pose her, baby, man. No, it was
baby, you are poser.
I will pose her blind. Pose her woody, man. Someone said he joined my Inyana, man. The great Inyana Beyonce, man. So there was, sorry. No, Beyonce's actually, that she was, I thought I didn't interact with her like that. I mean, we were in a groupie type of vibe, but I thought she was very graceful. Because what happened is we're backstage, you know, and like, so when you're on the red carpet,
at the premiere.
Yeah, you know, few days after the whole thing with Jay-Z's announced. So it's just terrible. You're like, oh man, that's 2 days. We're going to premiere now. You know, my kid is there as well. I'm like, he's like, yo, man, Dad, this guy better not. He was saying terrible things. I was like, yeah, man, this type of, because he knows I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, you know. So he was really like poking me.
Knowing that you're going to have this moment.
Yeah, so then it was there, I see Jay-Z, you know, it's like, great, wow, Jay-Z's there watching the movie, you know, and we backstage, like when we get there, it's like everybody's there. We're going to line up and then they announce you onto the stage and all of that, you know. And it's all these people, Seth Rogen, all of these people. But you can see there's we can't start because the queen is not here. You know, everybody's chit, but we keep looking at the door because we're supposed to, the thing has to happen at a certain time for the show to start, but it won't start until Beyonce is here, you know? And people are there themselves, but they're very kind of like into their own world, you know? But agree, but you keep looking at the door, And eventually she came with her crew and her daughter, you know? And like, there was okay, we can go. People start lining up, but also her vibe, you know, she bends, when she greets the elders, she's like very cool. Like Instagram, you know, but yeah, I was like nice. I was like, oh yeah, this lady's cool. She had like a cool vibe, and it was a nice vibe. Like the premiere was cool.
Did you go and ask Jay-Z for a pic?
No, I can't. Remember, I have to be cool. I can't be. That's my problem. If I had been raised properly, like with proper affirmation, like you are hot like Matsuma Punyan. If I had kept it, then I'd be stepping up to people. But I'm also very shy. I feel like people don't know this. Maybe another thing about not being on these social medias, I like my privacy, but I'm also shy. I don't think, because I'm also, remember when, do you know this? When you're on the streets, people know, they want this, and I'm used to that, and I appreciate when, I like people, like, I don't want to hate on people coming to give me props, but I also like my privacy. So I imagine Jay-Z, if I'm like at 2% of getting, imagine Jay-Z, he's got me, who's like, legendary royalty checks of PMS getting run up to him. So you can imagine,
Okay.
So I left, I was cool. I'm cool with these things, I'm always like,
you really do
I see
strike
Jay-Z,
me.
I'm like,
yes, as that keeping it cool. You don't get overly excited.
Yeah, I mean, also there are very few people in the world that would really blow my mind, and Jay-Z is one of them.
Yes.
And I didn't do it, so I'm fine. So Buma Ramaphosa have a chance.
Please name one person in this country you'd want to roast, because you're mentioning Mamposa and you've worked in a lot of these roast situations.
I think the most fun roast probably be Julius. I think Julius, to raise money for the EFF, he should do comedy shows. I mean, if he watches, do you think he watches your show? My advice to him is charge Buma 600, 3,000 and go to some better arena and do a set. Just do, like, if you need writers, will come, and you'll do too, because he does it on his, like, naturally.
I feel like Julius is the obvious one.
No, but think about forget roast. Just going to a Julius show where they say it's not, he's just gonna be like, there's a band, when he comes, there's German, Juju, the opening act, somebody, Titi Chumia is open, then Julius comes, he with a red suit, looking great, shiny shoe, diamonds, whatever, and then he just speaks for 2 hours. Like a proper, that'll be like for me, it'll be like going to Skumba or Loyiso or whatever. It'll be like a great show, because you've seen him. He's got that thing of off the cuff type of thing.
Yes.
It's got like Trump is also the same.
Yes.
Trump and Julius actually get like photo negative of each other.
Oh my, yin and yang.
Yeah, but you've seen their manner. It's like, like, are you saying this from, yeah, we know that yesterday they were eating gravy together. That is why this thing is going to come out at 3. And you're like, yo.
My
like,
goodness.
That vibe, So, but I find him very entertaining, and I think he'd be great in a roast. I think he's probably even better as an entertainer. If he went into entertainment, he'd probably be like the next Mufasa. I'm encouraging you. There's a lot of money in that, Julius. Go.
Okay.
He'd be like in generations. Start there, obviously, like for a week, like we'll practice acting, and then, then we'll put you in like a Netflixy type
Even
of thing.
Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Brown
as a story.
were on Generations.
Imagine Julius as a story.
Let's talk about Sabbatical.
In a sci-fi. We are not going to fall for your rabbit. Sorry.
We know that movies are in the work for years.
Yeah.
Tell us something that you've never shared about the process of making Sabbatical.
Sabbatical was actually, my sister made a short film called What Did You Dream, which did really well for her. I mean, short films aren't necessarily commercial, but they go to so that it was in competition in the most prestigious short film festival in the world. And it's like, and it went to all these places. So that she's a great storyteller, but then we're in that world where streamers, your Netflixes, there's a commercial. Nobody, I'll tell you now, if you want to make movies, nobody knows what's going to work. But they all need, the executive at Showmax or Netflix or Amazon or SM, their job is to know what's going to work. But they don't know. It's like the most bullshit job in the world, right? Because you have to say, what works is the first 6 minutes. Our protagonist, that's why sometimes you see these shows that are just the same, over and over, repetition of the same thing. Because one thing worked, and then they maybe try to replicate it, So with a movie like that, this Sabbatical, it's not the kind of movie it's not like a romantic comedy that you can. So to finance a movie like that is not easy. You have to. It's cinema, And for me, at our company, at Differente, we like to things like Matwetwe. We made it for no money. It's like it's an expression. It has to have first and foremost. It has to be like that, And it's difficult to do that. So somehow we found luck. There was a gap in the financing, in the, those cracks, like those PMS cracks.
Yes.
That's where that's where you'll find me. Oh, why the cracking? That's me. So we got, and the script was good. We know that she's a great storyteller. So that was, the thing is, the difficulty of telling a personal story like that as a movie, it's it's a luck as well. The fact that we can do that and we found these cracks. So that, I don't know if it's a secret or anything, but that's the one. I haven't told that to anybody because everywhere we go, no, Radimusa, we are Hollywood. But this was it was a great experience.
Do you think people think you're like so rich, but you're not there where they think you are?
Oh, nobody thinks I'm rich. I don't think I was actually thinking about it. It's like, with my life that I live now, if I had like 10 times the money or 100 times the money, I don't think it would make much difference because I kind of am happy. When you're like,
you live low key.
I like what I do. I like my life. I like my house. I like my things. I got not, and I'm like I said, I'm lucky. I'm not like ass out, I'm not those ones where if diabetes donator, so
why are you this person?
Sorry, those ones where are donating one or pay so that's like fortune and work, and I'm like blessed with all the work and stuff, but I don't know what people also don't consider. I'm not in the mainstream of entertainment. I remember the one, and I walk a lot. Like, so people also think I'm like, that guy, that's so cool.
Because
there was a guy once who came to my house for a party, and he said like straight up to me, back room. I literally said that. I was like, okay. Yeah.
Because maybe you've got that hobo vibe.
Maybe that's
hobo chic.
Somebody said this to me. There was a lady. You remember Nikki Greenwald?
Yes.
Nikki Greenwald once, we were at drinks in what do you call it, Melville.
Yes.
And then she said, I had a nice perfume, a nice cologne. Isi Miyagi at the time was the hype. Back in the days up here. He said, you smell really nice, but you really do look like a scully. I was like, I've never forgotten that. She said, you look like somebody who looks so much like a scully. You smell really good. I was like, interesting.
And you were like, that's an interesting comp.
Yeah, but also, it wasn't just that. Like, if you go, I remember back in the day, like all the papers, Bubu Shwashwi, they used to always say,
about you.
There was a review where I went on stage and they're like, even though he was really fine, even though he looked like he hadn't washed. But
I love the fact that you are just yourself. The people around you get to enjoy the authenticity of just who you are. You are just such a chilled person. There's no gig that you've come out of that you suddenly had this massive ego. So
no, just give me time.
You're getting there.
Like a call. When you see, I complain, I get Beyonce is always about herself. Just one day you see me there, then or changes them one.
Exactly. You'll be there in one.
Yeah. Kelly, I come background. Go Beyonce. Go Beyonce.
In closing, what just are your final thoughts that you wanna, share with everyone watching today?
It was great, man. Thank you for having me. Let's do it again in a few months.
Please.
Thank you. Yes, great Mabotja. The great Mabotja also Janguve. Really, really wonderful. Wako transfer, the ones who gentrified our neighborhoods. If you see, you guys left and then it went back to shit. And go watch my sister's movie. I don't know where if this comes out, but the movie's gonna be there forever. So it's on at the cinema now. If you go and watch it at the cinema, it'll help our bank balance for paying all the investors. That one is very key. But it will come out eventually in things. But right now, let's make it, so that I don't put those, You don't give them their flowers when they are alive. Diabetes are donating. This is the way you can help me.
I'll put a GoFundMe link below for Kagiso.
Rega ticket. Forget GoFundMe. Just go book now. Rega ticket that movie. Then I'm cool. Otherwise, halbonadi donating mututswerking. It's because you didn't buy tickets. That's where your fault is.
Kagiso Lediga,
thank you very much.
Subscribe. Put your questions down below for him. I can't promise he will respond because he might not have a home to respond from. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Follow us on the socials at Relebogile Pod. Watch Sabbatical and also let us know who you'd like to see on the show. It's been real. Peace.